Good morning. It is Monday, October 29th. It's Hurricane Sandy Day. Finally going to make landfall tonight. And unfortunately, all of the forecasts that we've been making over the last week or so, 5 days, 6 days, are coming true, which is the storm is strengthening. Still has a pretty good area of convection with it as it's moving now more to the northwest and is shifting off to the west-northwest because of that big blocking high over southeast Canada. In any case, it is heading that way. The pressure has dropped to 946. Hurricane Center has admitted there's winds of 85 miles per hour near the convection to the southwest of the center, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. That may help a little bit. And their forecast is for it to strengthen some more, 90 miles per hour by midday, and pressure will probably drop a little bit more, maybe low 940s, which was forecast by the models several days ago. And then landfall tonight around 8 to 10 o'clock, southern Jersey. Right now looks to be the target area. And all the damage and storm surge and beach erosion, etc. we talked about, covering most of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, a good part of New York, certainly Long Island, Connecticut, and Long Island Sound. Does appear like it's going to occur, and we've also got complications with high tide at that time, astronomical high tides, and so generally almost the worst case scenario for that region. Let's put this into motion a few frames. You can see it starting to turn, and it still has a well-defined center. I say still, very, at least on the visible images, very evident right in there. Let's look at the latest forecast model. This is the GFS. It shows 958. It's actually 946 at this time, so it's underestimating it. It does have it deepening and then coming on shore right there. It's just Delaware Bay near Philly. And what's interesting is the highest winds are to the southwest of the center, and that may help a little bit New York City, but it may increase the wind damage to the south of the storm. We're talking about how most of the damage will be north of it, but this could increase the damage over portions of Virginia, around D.C., Maryland, etc. So that's the GFS, and it then brings it inland, weakens it slowly, and then slowly brings it on out. Let's look at the European. Okay, here's the initial from last night. 24-hour position puts it right there. Now it's not a straight shot. It's come up and now heading east. So a little bit different than the GFS, but not much. It's showing highest winds to the north, and I'm thinking that may not be the case. Anyhow, 24 hours later, it's 990 millibars. So it goes from 945 to 990 in one day. Shows you the effect of losing the ocean influences. So this is definitely partly tropical, even if there are snows associated with it on the back end after it goes inland. Look at that circulation. It's gigantic. So there's not much mystery right now that it's going to be moving on shore somewhere in this area. If I throw the cone in there, it's pretty small throughout that area, anywhere from central Jersey coast down to Delaware, southern tip of Delaware, which is not really likely. I think it's more likely to be this line or northward. Remove that, and there's the wind field. So let's look at the animation of this thing. You can tell it's gigantic. What I've done is zoom in a bit, and there's the wind field. I don't get too, I shouldn't say concerned, but these winds here are using advanced wind estimation. So the winds hitting the coast are the ones you're going to look at off here, and then these are winds after they deteriorate some inland. But initially, this is noon. The winds are blowing sort of down, even away from Long Island Sound, from the north-northeast. So even though there's water that's coming in and piling up from waves and swells and storm surge, the winds are not a factor yet as far as creating problems. Possibly on the northern part of Long Island there could be. But we're going to move this one frame at a time. And let's go right to 20 UTC, which is 4 p.m. It's starting to shift a little bit. See, this is where the strongest winds are to the south. I'm going to move a few more hours, and now look at the winds along the Jersey Shore. This is at 10 o'clock tonight, 0200, and we're having this hurricane force winds and gust just approaching the coast, and they do show again highest winds to the south, but now the water is piling up with the winds pushing it as opposed to going from the north-northeast. Over here, even though the winds are offshore, we do have some very strong backside winds, with the strongest winds now southwest of the center. I'm going to move it a few more frames and watch the Jersey Shore right here. Now they're blowing directly on shore, near hurricane force winds. So this is where the biggest concern is going to be, I think, towards midnight. You're going to be looking at some videos today and say, oh, it doesn't look that bad, even this evening. But this is where I think most of the flooding will be occurring, or the time, I mean, around midnight when this is coming on in. Okay, we'll give it a few more frames. It's starting to weaken here, but the wind field itself is still very huge, and there those winds are still piling in. This is going to go through now 4 a.m. So from 10 p.m. through morning hours, it's going to be a lot of water piling into this area around New York, and certainly earlier it's going to be problems for the whole Jersey Shore. So when we wake up tomorrow morning, we'll get a much better idea of what happened overnight. But don't be surprised if you look at the TV today and it doesn't look that impressive yet. It's all going to be happening, I think, after dark. So I'll put this into motion, the whole thing. There it is. Boom, onshore. Now we've shown this over the last few days. I'm going to zoom in on this a second. This is the county thematic map. Some folks have asked, gee, how do you do that, HurTrack users? Very simple. You go up and you create a county report. You can come up to the reports, or on your menu bar, let me bring this down. Under reports, you can just say county impact report, wind profile report, or you can hit the little C up here on a menu bar. What it generates, and I'll show you that, is a report sort of by center point of county. It does not use advanced wind estimation in this case. Then if you select, let me bring it down again, this right here, or thematic map on the menu, it will then generate a map like the one we're looking at right there. So for folks who are wondering how that was generated, that's how you do it. In any case, there's the area of winds above, in this case about 29 miles per hour. It covers a huge region. These are sustained winds along the coast, and they're gust inland. Let's zoom in on this. And this is, I'll zoom out a little bit. Let's focus on this center. This is the area we're most concerned about for all the impacts. Storm surge flooding, I have to repeat it, I guess. I don't really, but storm surge flooding, beach erosion, waves on top of that. Throughout a large region, this is going to be a very expensive storm in terms of property damage, power outages, just a number of different factors. Insurance companies are not going to like this storm hitting the most populated area in the whole country. One last thing before we wrap up. This is a storm surge analysis tool we use. This is based on a Category 2 storm moving in from the towards the west-northwest like this storm is. And this is Atlantic City. We could be looking at parts of Atlantic City under 4 or 5 feet of water. If you're familiar with the area, Brigantine 5 feet, down through here. Some of the higher elevations of Long Beach Island will be okay, but at least 2 to 3 feet of water in that area, 9 feet in this community here, near Edison, I believe. So even though it's not 15-foot storm surges, you're going to have waves on top of this. We're going to see a lot of damage on Long Beach Island, and I think on the barrier islands off the coast of New Jersey, as well as the what flooding might occur near New York City. Now, in New York City, it's you're not going to be tearing down buildings, obviously, so it's going to be damaged, but I don't think you're going to see structures removed, obviously, in that area. But we will be seeing that occurring along the Jersey Shore. And I think on the backside of Chesapeake Bay, Delaware Bay, we're going to see a lot of problems there too, with those strong winds being southwest of the center right now, and the forecast to remain that way. Just to re-illustrate that, this is when the storm's making landfall. Look at that, hurricane force winds coming off of Chesapeake Bay onto this side of the bay, and a lot of homes there. and anything near the water could be in trouble, even on the east side of the bay. And same thing up through here. So I think the south of the storm, we've been playing it down a bit, may actually be as damaging as to the north of the storm. So we're talking about an area all the way from, oh, we don't need to see that. We need to see all the way from an area from north of Virginia Beach, Norfolk, all the way up through Massachusetts.